Hi, family. Welcome. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope you're having an amazing day. It's so good to see everybody. In case you haven't caught the videos over the weekend and the few days before then, let me briefly catch you up. What we've been discussing is how everything that's in place right now must be dismantled. We have to go back to the way things were. So everything, in other words, must end the way they began. We now have a United States Incorporated, and that is a group of bloodline families that usurped authority from our republic, which was our lawful government. So before we had the United States Incorporated, we had a republic, a very functional government with a constitution for our republic. Before that, we had tribal governments and tribal ways in which we lived here in America. And it's the same abroad in other nations. So, what we see now is President Donald Trump, who is actually still the CEO and President of the United States Incorporated, systematically using the tools against the deep state, their own tools, which are, by the way, executive orders. So, executive orders do not exist according to our republic or for our republic. So now that's how we can detect that we're still living under the United States Incorporated. Another way we can see that we're still living under the old system of the United States Incorporated is the inauguration date in which he was inducted. The inauguration date for President Donald John Trump, was January the 20th. But the lawful inauguration date for our republic is actually March the 4th. So what we know is that if we didn't have an inauguration on March the 4th, he must still be the president of the United States Incorporated and the CEO. And that's okay, because we also know, and we have known for a long time, that he is the last president. So people are saying he's probably the 19th president of the republic. But when we look at everything that's going on, we can tell that he is still the president and CEO of the United States Incorporated. What President Donald Trump intends to do, though, is after dismantling the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminati, the fake government, he will then step down and return or turn things back over to the republic. So what you had actually was the United States Incorporated working or operating alongside our republic. The United States Incorporated was the bloodline families that incorporated themselves in 1871 in the state of Delaware, and they created their own constitution called the Constitution of the United States Incorporated. Then on the other hand, you had the Republic. The Republic is the lawful government, and we have the Constitution for our Republic. Well, we haven't had lawful Republic elections since the 1860s, because remember, the United States Incorporated, or the group of bloodline families that usurped authority from the Republic, actually incorporated themselves in Delaware in 1871. That's how we know that was the last time that we had actually had lawful elections. Now, what's going to happen this March 4th? We don't know. But what we do know is we're going to have a huge celebration, a year-long celebration, according to President Donald John Trump, that will occur from Memorial Day of 2025 up through July 4th, 2026 in Iowa at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. And Iowa's preparing for that already. So why are we having this year-long celebration? According to President Trump, it is a 250-year anniversary of the United States. Now, remember, that's the anniversary of the United States, not the Republic, not the country America, but the United States. So they'll be celebrating, and some of us will be celebrating along with the people that will be celebrating again for a whole year between May and July of next year. You have to remember that the United States, those 13 colonies were actually situated in New England, the New England area, that part of America, but they were the United States of America. They were a country or a nation within a nation. This is why you heard Obama say that Morocco was the first nation to recognize us as a nation. He's talking about the colonies that came here. So we'll have this celebration, and it makes us wonder if indeed, we could also have elections before then for our republic. If so, we'll be having two celebrations. So again, we know that President Donald Trump is using executive orders to dismantle the system, and we're very grateful for that. So after he finishes that and turns things back over to the Republic, then the Republic will have lawful elections and we will elect a president. He is not the president for the Republic, and we know that because we've not elected a president for the Republic. The people don't yet know about the Republic. We're talking about the masses. We have to have lawful elections for the Republic. Also, we know that the people that were there at the inauguration were people that are still under the old system. Many of the congressmen and congresswomen there do not have oaths of office on file or on record. And I've shown you the lawsuit that was brought against the whole administration, the Biden administration, the congressmen, or the people that are in the House. Many of them have what's called a title of nobility, which is like Esquire behind their name. If you have a title of nobility behind your name, you may not serve lawfully as a congressperson or a person who actually creates or writes laws. And the reason for that is because it's according to our republic. If you have a title of nobility, you're not working for we the people. So if you have Esquire behind your name, it means that you are an attorney. You have attorneyed for someone, right? You represent someone in court. Not that you're a lawyer or you represent law, but you're representing the statutes, codes, and policies of the United States Incorporated. Having Esquire again behind your name means you had to pass the British Accredited Registry, which is the bar exam. You see the word British in there, accredited registry. You represent the crown, the British crown. You represent the queen and not we the people. So you may not have a title of nobility. So a lot of people are operating unlawfully in that position as a lawmaker or a congressman or woman. So that's how we know that we're not operating under the republic. They must all step down. So that's one thing. They have Esquire behind their name. The second thing is they don't have an oath of office on file. The lawsuit demanded or commanded that they actually show that they had an oath of office on the file, that they have sworn an oath to serve we the people. Well, there's nothing on file for most of them, if any of them at all. And the ones that tried to submit something, they were given a certain amount of time to prove that they had oaths of office and put it on record. The ones that tried to submit something submitted something that was very faulty. And I will put that explanation in the description section for you. Another reason that we know that many of them are operating unlawfully is because of the Brunson case. If you recall, the Brunson brothers, who were trumpet players, you see the word Trump, this was their ultimate trump card, these trumpet players. They brought a case against Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Vice President Kamala Harris, the former vice president, and 385 members of Congress. And what that lawsuit stated was that there were some evidence or some reason to believe that that whole administration either participated in fraud as it had to do with elections, or they knew about it and did nothing about it, and they were posing as a security breach to our nation. Now, you can look it up and see that Biden actually admitted that he allowed 320,000 illegal immigrants to come into our country, to breach the borders, to fly over into our airspace. So with that type of admittance, you know there were probably even more. And why did they allow illegal immigrants to come into our nation? First of all, that's unlawful to come here without the proper documents. And then we know from people doing investigations that many of those people were violent criminals. Many of them actually were given the privilege to vote in our great nation, even though they're not even from here. So this is why you see President Trump doing certain things, taking extraordinarily extreme measures to make sure that these people leave our country. You saw him saying he's securing the borders. You saw him saying that he's doing away with birthright citizen. Why? Because a lot of people were coming here illegally and unlawfully and having children so that their children can have the right to be an American here. And the thing about when you have your children in that country that kind of concerns some of us is that, of course, we welcome everybody here as long as they have good intentions and they have the best interests of the people at heart. But you know that the children that are born here, even though they are American, many of them will have actually an allegiance to the country of their forefathers, of their parents. And I think this is particularly a good time to bring up why that kind of stirs me up right now, because we just had presidential elections, and we had presidential elections 4 years ago that brought up certain issues. For example, when Kamala Harris was the vice president, she was not allowed lawfully, according to our Constitution, to serve as a vice president. Why? She could have become the president very easily if something had happened to Biden. And that's a problem. Because when you look at the Constitution says that anybody that desires to be president here in our great nation need to be subject to the jurisdiction of the state in which they were born and of this nation, and they have to be a natural born person. They have to be naturally born in America and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Well, Kamala Harris allegedly was born in Oakland, California, which would mean that she's supposed to be, subjected under the jurisdiction of the state of California and America. But was she naturally born here? The forefathers set parameters as such, because it's not just about proximity where you were born, but it's about allegiance. Again, the forefathers knew that if you weren't natural born here, then that means that your allegiance is not to America. And it means you will serve the best interest of someone else, the forefathers of that's in your bloodline, or the country of your parents. So again, it's not just about proximity, it's about allegiance. You can fact check me and look up John Eastman, who is actually a constitutional lawyer, an expert in constitutional law out of the state of California. He will say the same thing. Look him up. This is why President Donald Trump said before, I heard she wasn't even lawfully able to serve as the vice president or president. He knew what he was talking about. So natural born and native born are two different things. Okay, you can be native born and not natural born. Natural born actually means you sprung from the soil. So there's a lot of people that's been serving as president that's not supposed to, not of this republic anyway. Okay, not for this republic. So a natural born person is a person that sprung from the soil. That means your ancestors came from here. That means the same dirt and all the codes and genetic codes and the dirt and all that's in the soil is the same soil that's in your colon. You sprung from that place. Native born means you came from somewhere else. You can be born here, but your bloodline comes from somewhere else. So you have a lot of people that's native born, but they're not natural born. That means we need to undo a whole lot of things that's happening in America. Now, I'm one step ahead of where most people would tell you that you must be natural born. You must have sprung from here. Your ancestors must have come from here. Your bloodline must have come from America. And this is okay that this information is coming out, or that I'm giving you this information, because we're going to transition from the United States Incorporated to the Republic. We'll have lawful elections where everybody will be able to vote for a lawful republic and for different people that will represent you in the republic. And then they will have their time to operate in government, and then we'll transition back to tribal governments, to the way the autogenous indigenous people used to run their own governments according to their own tribes and tribal law. Now, we don't know exactly how that will look, but we know it's going to happen. So what do we do in the meantime? In the meantime, we keep our emotions in check. We stay balanced. We stay positive. We keep our frequencies high, and we know, not think, not believe, not guess, but we know all things are working together for our good because we command it to be so. And we also have the military that's here supporting us. We have Earth Alliance that's here supporting us. And we have other entities that are here that are positive and benevolent that are here to support us. Some of you have said you have ancestors that have come back and return in order to support you and ensure that the best interests of humanity is taken care of as we move into the golden age. And speaking of gold, have you noticed that gold is approaching the all-time high that we had seen last October 2024? That all-time high was 2,790, and now we're at 2,771. If you read certain articles, they will say things like gold increases as people are concerned about President Donald Trump's comments, or gold is peaking and nearing the all-time high and posed to overtake record peaks as Donald Trump drops remarks. Okay, what's happening actually is that gold has to be revalued. As the United States dollar decreases in value, gold and silver or precious metals will always increase in value. I've said this many, many times that it's a basic economic principle that as the dollar decreases in value, gold and silver goes up in value. But how do we know that the dollar is decreasing in value? Well, we know that the dollar is decreasing in value because, for one, the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, as well as all of the exporting nations that have joined BRICS, have dropped the dollar and stopped trading with the dollar. And now they're using their own local currencies that's backed by precious metals. That alone will systematically destroy the dollar. And then you saw BRICS saying, we're coming up with our own payment system. And the payment system that we have will rival the SWIFT payment system, and our payment system will systematically destroy the dollar in itself. So you have the BRICS bloc, which was more than 85% of the global population that had joined in 2022, between 2022 and 2023. How much more of the world? I say, according to my research, it's all exporting nations that have decided to stop trading with the dollar. Some have joined the BRICS bloc: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And then you have others that have joined the Shanghai Corporation. And the Shanghai Corporation are actually those Asian countries. So those two entities have systematically destroyed the dollar. But also here in America, you all have heard me say this before, 46 states have now removed or repealed the state sales taxes from precious metals. And when you repeal or remove state taxes from precious metals, that means that you are reclaiming gold and silver as money in order to be in alignment with the Constitution for our republic, which says that the only thing that can be used to pay off debts are silver and gold. And the Constitution also defines the dollar as a fixed weight in silver. And also, we know that the dollar is also defined as a fixed weight in gold. This is why Alexander Mooney came forward in 2018, 2021, and 2022 with 3 different bills: House Resolution 5404, then House Resolution 9157, then House Resolution 2435. And he called all of those the Gold Standard Restoration Act. The Gold Standard Restoration Act just defines the dollar as a fixed weight in gold. So you see lawmakers actually creating laws or passing bills and introducing bills to ensure that we go back to the gold standard. That's how you can see that we're moving towards the republic. But we're not quite there yet. We have 4 more states that need to reclaim silver and gold as money. That's Hawaii, New Mexico, Maine, and Vermont. And they are slated to do that this year, 2025. So that brings us to the next question that many people have asked me. When are we going to exchange our currencies? So for those of you that are just joining us and you don't really know about currencies, we're talking about foreign currencies, also known as foreign reserves or foreign assets. Many people have invested in foreign currencies because they know that those currencies that are part of different nations have been devalued through war or sanction. And when you buy currencies that have depreciated or devalued through war or through sanctions, while it's low, then you wait until the countries decide to reinstate those currencies back to their pre-war value or back to their pre-sanction value. And then you go to the bank and get an exchange, the new exchange rate or the reinstatement rate, and you make money off of your investment. So people are asking, when can we exchange? Well, this is not the time to exchange yet, although we do know that countries have repatriated their gold back to themselves. Many of them have also found or dug up and mined more gold, as well as they found rare earth minerals in their countries. By the way, even here in America, in the state of Wyoming, last summer we found 2.34 billion metric tons of rare earth minerals, which make us be the #1 country in rare earth minerals. Okay, and we also have gold all around, all along the Colorado River. We have gold in the forts. We have gold in Arizona. We have gold all over the place, and many countries as well as not just having these precious metals and rare earth minerals, but they repatriated their gold back to them. So they're revaluing their currencies right now, and some of them are even reinstating the rates on their country's currencies, but they're doing it behind the scenes. We're waiting for an official announcement, official overt announcement that the republic has been returned. That should happen very soon, family. And you can see Donald Trump is moving very quickly. He's ushering out or putting out so many executive orders that it's hard to keep up. Even if you look at it, it used to be a time where mainstream media and different journalists or even Google would list them out one by one. They're not even listed out now. This is keep because he is issuing out so many different executive orders. But you want to make sure that you wait till this republic is officially announced, because if you keep the people that are in power right now and leave everything the way it is, and then we go to the bank, then these evil people can steal our money and re-empower themselves. We don't want that to happen. We want to make sure that our lawful republic has been restored and been returned, and we want to make sure all of these nefarious people are actually out of office. So again, we have to wait until all of this is over. All of this work has been done by President Donald Trump and Earth Alliance. So it should not be much longer. We see that the republic is being restored. We see states again making different changes. Many of them have outlawed central bank digital currencies, also known as CBDCs. We see the Supreme Court of the United States saying that state-sponsored banks can operate independently from the Federal Reserve central banking system, and they can have their own charter, and they can issue out their own gold-backed currencies. So that's a big move for state-sponsored banks to be able to operate independently. That is a key for you to see that states are operating in their sovereignty. They're making rules right now. And as a matter of fact, the Constitution in the 10th Amendment of the Constitution says that state communities have more power than the federal government. So if there's a change you want to see in your state and you want it to happen quickly, you need it to move along even faster than maybe they are slated to move, then you can work at the state level. Again, the federal government doesn't really have any power except for the power that you give it, because it's not federal, it's not lawful, it's not constitutional, and it's not our republic. So again, states are now operating in their sovereignty. They're passing their own laws. They're moving independently, and they're ready to issue out their own gold-backed currencies. We also saw that the Supreme Court this summer overturned the Chevron Doctrine. The Chevron Doctrine was a doctrine that allowed these federal fake agencies, it's about 441 of them, like the FBI, the CIA, et cetera, EPA, IRS. They were able to create their own statutes, their own codes, and their own policies, and force us to go along with them. And if we didn't do it, they would put fines on us. And if you didn't pay the fine, you went to jail. So the Chevron Doctrine allowed them to do that. And if you tried to go and negate it in court, then the judges would just defer you right back to those agencies and say that those agents were experts and you had to pay the fine and you had to obey those policies. The reason why I call them policy, statutes, and codes is because that's just what they were. They weren't laws. They were not constitutional. They were legalities. Legal coincides with the corporation. Lawful coincides with the republic. So the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron Doctrine, also known as the Chevron Deference. Then it went a step further and said that all of those agencies were operating unlawfully and treasonously, and that any judge that allowed that to happen, particularly put those that made you pay a fine and deferred you right back to those companies or those agencies, the judges that knew about it and went along with it, they're also now considered treasonous. And any judge that knew of a judge that allowed that and didn't report it to the president of the corporation, that judge is considered having committed misprision of treason. So these are huge, huge drops that I'm giving you. Some of you know this because you've been following people like me and you know how to read and research on your own. I'm just reiterating that it's over for the United States Incorporated. This again is why President Donald Trump said he wants to downsize the government, because it's all been planned. It's all part of the plan to systematically do away with the United States Incorporated, because they're not lawful. They're not the Republic. They usurped authority or stole authority from the Republic and forced we the people to abide by their rules. And if we didn't, they made our lives miserable by putting fines on us. So when can you revalue your currencies? Well, they're already revaluing. We're already experiencing the global currency reset. It's the whole financial system is being restructured, and it's being now turned back over to a gold standard. And everything now will be based on gold, and all countries' currencies will be one-to-one with each other. But what you're waiting on is an official announcement. So you're going to have the Republic officially announced. Once Donald Trump continues or gets finished with dismantling the deep state, and once he gets finished taking down everybody that needs to be taken down, then he will return it over to the Republic. The Republic is announced, and then you will see NESARA and JASARA. Then you will see that these trillions of dollars being injected into the global economy. You will see humanitarian projects, and you will see exchanges of currencies. All that will happen at the same time once the Republic is announced and everything's been systematically dismantled. So I hope you all gained something from this short, brief podcast. I just wanted to bring you up to speed, up to date, in case you missed some of the other podcasts that I've done the other day and the day before, the last few days since President Donald Trump's inauguration. Now, I would also encourage you to watch the podcast that I did. It was a lengthy one that I did on the other day with Chief Pontiac, also known as Rod Hayes. The gentleman is a brilliant man. He is a tribal chief. He does understand and overstand tribal laws, tribal culture, tribal ways, but he also overstands and understands the Republic and how the Republic was restored, from which tribes the Republic got its information in order to create a republic. And he understands and overstands how the deep state, cabal, Illuminati, United States Incorporated, which is now defunct, has been operating, and where they all started and how they all started. So again, the United States Incorporated is defunct and it's bankrupt and insolvent. But what we see now is President Trump actually just putting the nail in the coffin, taking them down one by one. So many people, speaking of Donald Trump, have said that they're concerned about some of the things that he's doing. But I would say keep your emotions in check. Look at everything the way it is. And then also keep in mind that we are still at war. So you have to think about the law of war manual. You have to think about the laws of power and certain things like that. The military law, how things work when you're in a war, especially when you're in a war within your own nation. This is a coup d'etat that we're talking about. We're talking about how a lawful government that was in place was overtaken by rogue agents that are not even from America. Some of them are not even human. So keep all those things in mind as you watch Donald Trump, because when you are operating in war, you have to use certain tactics that the people, common people, don't understand and understand. For example, people are asking, what do you do if President Trump says he's putting billions of dollars into AI or technology, and some of these AI could be used against us? What I say is, well, the traffic light is AI. Well, we've been dealing with AI for a long time. It could be used for bad or good. So keep your emotions in check. Do some investigating and some research before we just jump to conclusions. And also know that mainstream media will always spin a story to make you afraid or worried or concerned. And when you're worried, concerned, or afraid, you will emit an energy that we call loosh. The psychic energy, loosh, is what the deep state feeds on. It's what these nefarious energies and nefarious entities actually absorb or eat. So we have to keep everything in check, stay calm, stay positive, and know that the Creator is working for our good. And you have powerful forces that are way more powerful than man that's actually helping us, like the military, the Earth Alliance, and these extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings. So again, family, you might hear about AI, but AI can be used for good or bad. Just make sure you use it for good. And also know that they might talk about doing certain things, and they might be making deals, and they might just be saying things in order to let the people see who these people are that they're talking about funding. So sometimes you'll say, yeah, I'll work with you and I'll put money into your pocket, and I'm showing everybody who you are and bringing you up to the forefront so that people can research you, and people in power can come to find out who you are, and all that information can be brought to the forefront, and then you systematically destroy them. President Trump is brilliant, but he also has a whole team behind him who is extremely brilliant. So sometimes you'll say, I'm going to fund this person, or I'm going to work with this person, I'm going to work with that person, and you'll let that person show themselves like they did with Fauci. Okay, once Fauci came forward, and all of the stuff that he had been working with, all the research that he had done, okay, all the nefarious things in which he was involved came to the forefront. And so this is setting these people up for Nuremberg 2.0 and all of those trials. So stay encouraged, family, and know that we are in the middle of the war. And sometimes you have to use war tactics, again, that most people don't understand or understand. You always keep your enemies close. That's what they say, keep your enemies close, your friends close, but your enemies closer. Okay, you don't want to have your enemies behind you. So what I'm saying is, make sure you don't take in anything at face value. You research it, you stay emotionally balanced, and know that you have your own will. So if somebody's saying, okay, we're going to put all this money into something that you have to inject or inoculate yourself with, and you're not for it, don't take it. It's really that simple, because it's not mandatory. And even if somebody says it's a mandate or mandatory, a mandate is not a law. It only becomes something that is enforceable when you agree. Okay. It only becomes something that's law or lawful for you if you consent. So if it's something that you don't agree with, do not consent. Having said that, family, we are living in an amazing time. We're going back to the gold standard. We're going to have the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, which is NESARA. We're going to have the global version of that, the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, which is just SARA. And we're going to have a wonderful time, a global reset, a global financial or currency reset, where we will destroy the dollar and that whole fiat-based system and the SWIFT system, and we will move to a gold system and a quantum financial system that is backed by gold. What is the quantum financial system? It is a sentient system that was a gift given to us by interdimensional beings that will allow us to have smooth transactions in our monetary system. Speaking of our monetary system, I don't know if you noticed this, but there's a lot of information coming out about banks that just recently, like just yesterday, that are closing. And that's because most of the banks that will exist are now being absorbed or have been absorbed by the United States Treasury Department. And all of these banks have to be Basel compliant, which means they have to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset. Why? Because gold is constitutional money, and these banks must now be transparent, and they can no longer steal your money once you put money in the bank as a creditor and bail themselves out or bail themselves in. No longer are they able to do any of that. No longer are they able to exact usury upon you and make you take out loans with interest rates. All this will be systematically rolled out, but they're now setting the scene. That's why all these banks are collapsing. The ones that remain, again, will be Basel compliant, recognize gold as a tier 1 asset, be transparent, and they have to be prepared to receive your tier 2 assets so that they can exchange them. Tier 2 assets are foreign assets, foreign reserves, foreign currencies. So a lot is taking place, family. A lot has already been done. Be patient. I know you're tired. I know you're ready for this all to end. So my encouragement to you is that it is happening. President Trump is the tool that has been used to destroy the deep state. He is the CEO and the president of the United States Incorporated. Do you know that when a ship sinks, the captain goes down with the ship? And this is why Donald Trump is going to step down and remove himself, or, be asked to be removed once he dismantles the deep state. He will have to sink with, and when I mean sink, I don't mean in a bad way. He will step away because his job will have been done. And then we will have the republic. The republic again will operate the way it's supposed according to our Constitution. After we had lawful elections and a lawful inauguration with lawful people that you've elected to stand in. And then we will have tribal governments, tribal ways. Now, who would you vote for when a republic stands? We don't know. But I will tell you that we already have people sitting in a seat right now in each state, which each state operates as a country according to our republic. And we are manning those seats or just sitting there right now so that when Donald Trump finishes his job, we will stand or move forward as the republic. And then we're only the interim republic. And then you all will vote whether you want us to stay in or you want somebody else to move forward. And trust me, all of us are saying we are happy with whatever the people say. We're just stepping in right now because the seats were empty. So I hope you're encouraged, family. Everything is working for our good. The Most High, the Creator, Source, however you see the God of your understanding or the Supreme Being. Okay, and even if that's not your forte to say something outside of me is operating, working things on my behalf, then your ancestors, which is your bloodline, they're working on your behalf, and you are working on your behalf because you have prayed, you have cried out, you have talked about how you wanted things to change, you have meditated, and you have commanded the change to come forth. And so it is here. It is so. It is done. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. I hope I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Peace, family. See you soon. Bye-bye.